If you've been hanging around Cheesy Studios for a while, you've probably heard me praise a few themes for their uniqueness. Dino Attack, the grittiest dinosaur theme we've ever gotten. Knight's Kingdom, a character-based castle theme. Or Life on Mars, a theme that literally reinvented LEGO's color palette just to stand out. Yet, in reality, Dino Attack was just another dinosaur theme. Even dinosaurs in the modern era had already been tried out by adventurers. Knight's Kingdom was another addition to an extensive catalog of castle themes, and there's the same issue with Life on Mars and space. But when it comes to themes that are truly like no other, Exo-Force has got to be pretty high up on that list. Exo-Force brought us a rich and vibrant world, the likes of which LEGO had never been to before. The closest match would perhaps be 1997's Robo-Force. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. But for the most part, mechs were largely unfamiliar to the LEGO landscape, showing up only occasionally in various space and action themes. So yeah, a completely mecha-based theme was pretty revolutionary for the time. Now with themes like Ninjago, superheroes, and Monkey Kid, it's pretty much impossible to imagine a LEGO without mechs. Exo-Force went a long way to lay the groundwork for so many future themes that would utilize mechs. And to its credit, it's certainly got a lot right straight off the bat. There's a lot to see with this theme, so hey, let's take a closer look. The theme has a pretty well-documented lore thanks to 5 chapter books, 4 of which are written by the legendary Greg Farshty. For the sake of our video today, I'll be giving you the abridged version of the story, which begins with humans and robots living in peace on Sentry Mountain. The robots had been created to help handle difficult tasks within the mountain, such as mining. One day, however, the robots malfunctioned and turned on the humans. The resulting conflict unleashed strange powers and split the mountain clean in half. The humans did end up being victorious and pushed the robots back into the depths of the abyss between the two sides of the mountain. There, however, the robots rebuilt and reclaimed half of the mountain for themselves. With the growing threat of the robots' return, a team of battle machine pilots called the Exo-Force was assembled to protect the humans and overcome the robots once and for all. Exo-Force pilots Hikaru, Takeshi, Ryo, and Hayato are the most skilled of these pilots and the main characters of the Exo-Force story. Exo-Force is also noteworthy in the many new pieces it introduced, some of which are still in production today, like the robot arms and claws. The theme also introduced many other specialized but shorter-lived elements like large turbines we'll see in a few of the sets, and also the light bricks which appear in most all of the mechs throughout these first 2 waves. And of course I need to mention the crazy hair pieces, 2 of which were developed for this theme. The first set on our Exo-Force journey is Uplink, the Wave 1 battle machine of Ryo. This little guy is set number 7708, would have retailed for $4.99 back in 2006 and has a total of 69 pieces. The one figure it includes, of course, is Ryo. Let's take a closer look at him. Ryo is the techie of the group, responsible for maintaining the battle machines of his peers. The Exo-Force figures are quite unique, but honestly I think LEGO pulls off that anime-esque style surprisingly well. That's due in part to the specialized hair pieces that were developed for this theme. There's 2 different molds made out of that more rubbery plastic, and Ryo features one of them here in dark purple. One of the most memorable parts of these figures in this theme are the alternate expressions of the Exo-Force pilots, which are something to behold. I mean, it's perfect for the genre that they're going for, and I can almost hear the battle cry issuing from these guys. For just a $5 set with 69 pieces, the mech itself is surprisingly well built up. As you'll see time and time again throughout all 5 waves of Exo-Force, these things use up a lot of stickers. This is definitely on the lower end with only 7 that I can see right here, but some of the larger sets have more than 30 stickers. That aside though, the mech is still great. There's some really cool parts usage going on here too, most notably the shoulder pads here, which is from a really cursed sports sub-theme of all things, hockey. If you've never seen these things, allow me to introduce you. Aren't they something? But anyway, this would be the last time those helmets would appear here as shoulder pads, and it's really great parts usage. The thing has a pretty good range of motion too, about as much as you could ask for a set this size, down to the ankles. Thanks to its larger feet too, it stands up and balances pretty well. Even though in the lore this is designated as more of a repair vehicle, it's completely capable of defending itself with missile launchers on one side and this massive gun on the other. Of course, the control panel here too is a sticker. At least in these first 2 waves of Exo-Force, I'm not sure I can think of any printed parts beyond the minifigures. Like I said, that it's a sticker fest. But they do add a lot of detail and character to these mechs. I did go ahead and purchase the original instruction manual for Uplink because there's a few things of note to point out here. Of course, there's a few pages showcasing all of the sets available from the first wave, along with all the characters that you could get. I love the artwork that they've done for the battle on the bridge. Great stuff. Perhaps the best thing about these Exo-Force Wave 1 instruction booklets, though, is the inclusion of alternate models. Once upon a time, you were able to get the instructions for these from LEGO.com, but I love that these were included in the manuals themselves. It's something that LEGO really should go back to. And for the smallest box set in the wave, with not many pieces, this is a pretty impressive alternate model that the designer has come up with, and I love how thoroughly different it is from the base model. It's awesome stuff. Next up is another small $5 set, my personal first set from the theme, and that's Sentry, our first battle machine for the robots. The set features a singular figure, an iron drone. Iron drones are strong and plenty dangerous, though not particularly intelligent on their own. They're the pawns of the robot operations and best suited at following orders from higher ranking robots. They tend to operate small vehicles, much like sentries, which attack in large numbers to overwhelm opponents. Impressively though, this guy doubles the sticker count with 14 stickers, so you're starting to get a taste of how stickerful these can actually be. I love this one a lot. It makes use of a new piece introduced with the Exo-Force line, which is this specialized armor plate piece here. We'll see that show up in a few more sets in this wave and the next too. And note that the robots tend to have a lot more sharper angles, whereas the humans' battle machines are a bit more rounded out and softer around the edges. I really like that distinction. Also, the much more muted color scheme of the robots. There's really good design work taking place here, subtle stuff that makes a big difference. The alternate build for Sentry is called Cannon Sentry. Given the limited parts available here, it's pretty impressive that the designer was able to come up with an alternate model at all. Now, these next few mechs we're going to be looking at are significantly larger. We're going to start out with 7700 Stealth Hunter. I can still remember in 2005 reading this very same LEGO Club magazine, seeing this thing prominently featured as an advertisement for the upcoming Exo-Force theme. 7-year-old me was pretty fascinated. These were definitely simpler times when we didn't have all the Instagram LEGO leaks and all that nonsense. You'd learn about the next thing from LEGO themselves, from their club magazine. The intrigue, the mystery. No one knew the name of the set or how many pieces it had or how expensive it was going to be. You just had to wait till January to find out. The good old days. And speaking of the good old days, look at what the good old days of 2006 brought us. Pretty awesome mech. This is Hikaru's battle machine. Hikaru's a fantastic pilot and an even better long-range shooter, but he tends to go off on his own from time to time. He needs to learn how to work as part of a team for the Exo-Force mission to be successful. The base here you see for the Stealth Hunter is going to become the standard for the rest of the battle machines we'll be seeing throughout Wave 1 and Wave 2. It makes use of the same pieces developed for the action figures from Knight's Kingdom, the modified version of the Galador joints. Another important part of all these larger mechs too is the light up fiber optic tubing. Now, it's been years since my light bricks worked, and even in their prime they didn't work all that great. But theoretically, once upon a time, by hitting this little lever in the back, you could get this tube to light up and glow red, thanks to a light brick found within the cockpit. But it was a fun concept, even if the execution was a bit shoddy. Canonically, the light up power brick is the source of power for the entire battle machine, and by removing it from the battle machine, your vehicle is unusable. And that becomes very easy to do thanks to a little button on the top. Pressing it ejects the power brick. And that's how you could disable or re-enable opponents' battle machines out on the field. What I like about some of these larger battle machines too is that the cockpit is completely covered, unlike Uplink and Sentry, which left their pilots exposed. Another Knight's Kingdom callback here too are the swords here featured in white, which are Danju's from Wave 1 of the Knight's Kingdom action figures. All in all, this is a great looking mech. It has a lot of personality on its own, and that's something we'll continue to see throughout this first wave of Exo-Force. All the mechs, even though they use that same base for all of them, the same skeletal layout, the same light up feature in the back, they all are so distinct and unique, which is really, really cool. And that's one of the reasons that I think that this first wave of Exo-Force is really one of my favorites out of all 5. This kit has an alternate model too, and that's the Stealth Wasp, which is another really well executed build by the designer. The next mech is similar in some ways, but also plenty different and distinct. This is Takeshi's Grand Titan. The Grand Titan is set number 7701, again retailed for $15, but has 196 pieces, so a bit more pieces going on in this one. Before I forget too, in addition to the alternate models for each of these kits, you could actually combine these to form yet another model. And from what I understand, the combiner model is actually an important part of the Exo-Force story in the chapter books. The set, of course, includes Takeshi, our third pilot of the Exo-Force team. Takeshi's involvement within the Exo-Force is very personal, as his family has been taken captive by the robots and are being imprisoned on the other side of the mountain. This battle machine cannot fly, but it does plenty of damage while on the ground thanks to this really awesome claw. So the pincher elements here in red are a Bionicle piece that was originally produced in a pearly silver color across a couple of Bionicle sets during this era. A lot of Bionicle pieces actually feel right at home in a theme like this. Go figure, mechs, Bionicle, there's a lot of crossover there. Much like the Stealth Hunter, it's easy to access the cockpit, and there's a button on top to eject the power core. The vehicle's also armed with a ranged weapon on the left. Again, you gotta love the bright, bold colors here, it works really well. Great looking mech. The alternate model for this is the Titan Tracker. Now we're going to switch things up and look at the robot battle machines, starting off with 7702 Thunder Fury. This one has 197 pieces, so only one more piece than Grand Titan just before, and again would have retailed for $15. The figure included in this set is pretty sweet, and that's our first Devastator. There's actually 4 different types of robot Devastators. There's a plain regular silver one, a trans neon green one, a trans medium blue one, and a trans red one. The colors give them different roles. In this set, the trans red designates this Devastator as a heavy trooper. Trans medium blue is the Air Force division of the robot army, and trans neon green is the special forces. The torso is made up of a combination of 2 different plastics, the transparent red and the pearl light gray there. It's really, really cool looking, and I love that they did the dual molding for these guys. It makes sense that this particular Devastator variant is included with this set, as it is the toughest, most armored battle machine the robots have. And you can probably get that vibe just by looking at its bulky appearance. Much like the human battle machines, this one features a ranged weapon and a melee weapon. This is another crazy Bionicle parts recolor here, this time with dual injection molding, much like the robot torso itself, with dark red and black to get a really unique look for that sword. It looks thoroughly menacing, and I love this element. On the other side is what appears to be a very heavy-duty blaster. I noticed too, while putting these battle machines together, that the robots have the fiber optic tube on their right arm, whereas the human battle machines always have it on their left. Kind of interesting. Again, it's kind of differentiating them. And you can note too the much more muted color scheme that this battle machine features when compared to the human battle machines. Of course, this one has an alternate model too, and that's the Fire Fury. Next up is 7703 Fire Vulture, one of my personal favorites from this first wave sets. This one has 177 pieces altogether and features the Air Force Devastator. He's actually exclusive to this set. This is the first instance of one of the new large turbine pieces here, which has some whopping 8 stickers on it, which is absolutely ridiculous. But my favorite part of this battle machine though is the flamethrower that gives the Fire Vulture its name. Some absolutely fascinating parts usage going on here with the hose nozzle, the gears, the tubing. It's hard to believe that this was part of a 2006 regularly available retail set. It's just got such a refined look to it. It looks straight out of a mock. It's awesome. Definitely my favorite weapon in the entirety of Exo-Force right there. His melee weapon is a claw, again making use of some pretty common Bionicle parts. The dark blue and sand blue color scheme here works great, reminds me a lot of Alpha Team, but with a much darker twist. Even though it's nowhere near as bulky as the Thunder Fury, this thing is just as terrifying. In my opinion, this is definitely one of the must-have sets from LEGO Exo-Force. It does have an alternate model too called the Hoverhawk, which is pretty sweet looking, and you can also combine it with Thunder Fury to create another combo model called the Raging Storm. The next kit spices things up a little bit again. This is 7704 Sonic Phantom, a $20 set from the line. It's got 215 pieces and features the last of the 3 colored Devastators, which is the trans neon green, the Special Forces. This is a pretty big departure from the things we've seen up until this point. It's not a mech. It is an aerial assault vehicle instead, and it's a pretty good looking one at that. It relies pretty heavily on the brand new turbine pieces, making sure that LEGO gets their money's worth out of those molds. All the turbines can spin, of course, and you have some maneuverability with the lasers mounted on the wings. The main feature of this, though, is that there's a trigger on the bottom which allows you to remotely fire the spring-loaded shooter. Pretty sweet. Also, while doing that, you'll notice that this ball comes down and would have once upon a time powered that light brick. Interestingly enough, this thing is just sat in there and is definitely the easiest to knock out of all the vehicles. Beyond that, there isn't too much to say about this vehicle in particular. I think it's really got a great design and it's really swooshable, very satisfying to hold. I love how the color scheme again lines up with the Devastator color, and it still feels in place with the rest of the robot vehicles. To me, the Sonic Phantom's alternate build is perhaps the most memorable, and that's the Speeder Phantom, making use of those 4 turbine pieces as giant wheels to this vehicle. Really creative stuff. Before we continue with the rest of the playsets, I'll point out some of the smaller sets and the gear items released in this first wave. 2006 gave us 3 polybag sets, all of which seem to have limited regional retail availability. In fact, it's likely that 5965 Robot Exosuit, also known as Silver Bad Guy, was never even released. However, you can still find plenty of copies of 5966 Hikaru's Training Glider and 5967 Takeshi Walker on Bricklink, primarily from Hong Kong. These small sets are all rather excellent in my opinion, creating fun and unique mini battle machines from only a handful of parts. We'll actually see this polybag concept reused in a set for Wave 2. Like many other in-house LEGO themes, there were a number of gear items released alongside the regular playsets too. Magnets, pins, shooters, keychains, and apparently even a bedspread were part of the Exo-Force lineup. Of course, as mentioned earlier too, there were plenty of books to expand your knowledge of the Exo-Force world, from chapter books to various guides. On top of that, almost every single one of the 5 Exo-Force waves had a special edition set. Wave 1's is truly a beauty, and that's 7712 Supernova. This battle machine would have been $19.99 when it was released in April and has 287 pieces, roughly 100 more than the $15 mechs. The set is able to take that seemingly small extra parts budget and work some absolute magic with it. More armor rounds out the mech beautifully, and the larger design makes use of a longer variant of the fiber optic tubing, up from 20 studs to 24 studs long. The extra length allows for a lot more flexibility that some of the smaller mechs definitely lack. There's some extra special good stuff going on here, including longer arms and articulating hands on both sides and fingers, making use of the robot arm piece, which of course for 2006 was a brand new element. It works really well and you can get some really impressive poses out of this model in particular. And like so many LEGO sets before and after Supernova, being both limited edition and really cool looking does not spell good things for you on the aftermarket. You'll be shelling out a pretty penny for this one if you can find it at all. But if you can get your hands on this model, I don't think you'll be disappointed in the slightest. It really is an impressive display piece, even today. Even though it's a special edition set, the Supernova does have an alternate build, and that's the Nova Crawler, which again, looks really great. That leaves us with just one more set from the first wave, Gate Assault. It's kind of crazy to think that with an asking price of $30 in 2006, that this was the largest set of this first wave. Few sets have ever given you more bang for your buck. The set packs an impressive 402 pieces across its 3 vehicles and substantial structure build. There are 5 minifigures included. We've met an Iron Drone before, and this set includes 3 to build up your army. This is the first set to include Hayato. He's adventurous and a bit reckless and loves to fly. His alternate face stands out amongst the other Exo-Force pilots too, showing his personality. He doesn't look nearly as angry as some of the others. The set also includes a more generic Exo-Force member simply referred to as Gate Guard. He dons the same apparel as Rio and only shows up in one other set, which we'll see in the next wave. The hairpiece is the same as Hikaru's but in black. Because of his inclusion in only 2 medium-sized sets and his potential for army building within the Exo-Force universe, the price of this figure tends to be quite a bit higher when compared to that of the main squad. Before we get to the largest part of this build, the gate, let's take a look at the 3 vehicles included. There's 2 robot vehicles here. This one is the attack tank. It's a really simple build relying on a bunch of large specialized pieces, including the bionicle chest plates on the sides and the large plastic wheels, but it still looks really good. My favorite part definitely is the robot-like head in the front, which is used to ram down the gates, which we'll see in a second. The vehicle is manned by 2 iron drones, one driving, and he just slides right into place there. He's not connected by anything. And then there's one manning the turret up top. The turret, it's just worth pointing out, is connected by one of the more interesting techniques that I've seen, making use of these Technic stoppers, which actually make room for studs on the corners here, leading to a fairly secured connection. I can't think of any other example off the top of my head where I've seen a connection like that. Very interesting. The other robot vehicle is Sentry Mark II. So you remember Sentry from much earlier in this video, right? This is Sentry's older brother. Much like Uplink, it makes use of a very specialized shoulder pad piece. These are from the 3rd wave of Knight's Kingdom, used as armor plates for the action figures there. And even just that small change just makes him look so much more bulky than the original Sentry. Sentry 2's weapons are enhanced too, with larger missiles and a double barrel gun. It would be awesome to have a small army of both of these. And then we get one last human battle machine, and that's Hayato's Gate Defender. This is another great one, a lot of personality poured into a very small vehicle. Again, makes use of a really interesting shoulder pad piece. These are the 4 Juniors motorcycle fairings. This is definitely the last time the piece would ever appear. But somehow the designer came across this piece and thought they would work great here, and they do. It's a borderline unusable piece, something I never would have thought of, so huge props to the designer for dreaming this up. This is another flying battle machine, and he's actually got some transparent stickered wings on the back, which is pretty nice. The gate itself is one of only a handful of structural builds that we'll get throughout the entirety of the 3-year run of Exo-Force, and that in and of itself makes it something rather special. But the main function here is that the gate rammer tries to penetrate the gate. But there's a nasty surprise waiting for him once he gets inside. When the doors are smashed open, they will automatically trigger the spring-loaded shooter, which will theoretically blow up anything that tries to sneak its way in. That is, if they get past the defenses on the outside, the huge turret here on the top, and the additional missiles. The interior of the gate doesn't have much going on, and that's totally fine, but there is this one piece of note, which is this stickered banner element, which I've seen repurposed for many mocks throughout the years. It's pretty cool. Gate Assault is a fantastic set because it gives you so much stuff to do. 3 vehicles and a pretty substantial structure to mess around with. There's a million different stories and adventures to be had within this one small set. The set also gives you 2 alternate builds, the Swift Plane and the Blockade Bulldozer. Something for the good guys and something for the robots. And that's the first wave of Exo-Force. The theme hit the ground running with an impressive lineup of sets packed with tons of new pieces and functions, and all priced ridiculously reasonably by today's standards. 12 sets, all priced under $30. The mechs are delightfully unique and have so much character. The bold colors and creative parts usage make many of the builds hold up even today. Goodness me though, were these things a sticker fest. The $15 mechs had anywhere from 20 to 30 stickers each. You can say what you will about the stickers, but they undoubtedly add a lot of detail and additional personality to the battle machines. Wave 1 of Exo-Force really embodies the best of 2000s era LEGO. An imaginative story, bright colors, affordable playsets, and I love the inclusion of combiner models and alternate builds throughout this wave, encouraging kids to think outside the box and create their own battle machines to take down the evil robots. The battle machines definitely tend to fall apart a bit faster than any mechs you'd find from LEGO today, but frankly I'm not too bothered by it now, nor was I as a kid. With the pieces available at the time, this was an incredible start to a build concept that has now become a staple of the LEGO brand. It's for these and many more reasons that this theme really became something special and quite unforgettable. There really is nothing else quite like it. And while Exo-Force would abruptly end in 2008, it still gave us 4 more waves across its lifetime. Over the next few months, it's my intention to take a look at every single set that came out of this theme. In episode 2 of this revisiting miniseries, we'll be exploring the 4 massive sets released in the summer of 2006. So be sure to stick around, because there's a lot more to see from LEGO Exo-Force. But that's all I've got for this one. Have yourself a fantastic life, and I'll see you later.